As he spits into the dirt, he creates clay, and he rubs the clay on the eyes of the blind man. The man is blind because the lowest level of consciousness, the earth level, blinds him. His carnal mind blinds him from the life that he deserves to have with God. This is why the clay must go on. The man then goes to the water, and when he washes away the clay using the water, he can see. Because when he washes away the carnal mind, the earth level of consciousness from his sight, he is left with the next level of consciousness, the level of consciousness that we call water. Or you go from beta to alpha. You could say he is baptized, as it is also written inside the Bible. Baptism, a very important thing for all humans to go through.
Great Spirit, I have had it. Bring me back to the nomadic way of weaving through the damage. Mindful, stay mindful. Great Spirit.
Hey guys, I just did a little video. It was a snippet from a longer video about reincarnation and karma. I was talking about the karma of the special needs children in my care, and this spurred on because over the years I've had countless people ask me that question, and someone said it on the video about Vincent, and I wanted to rebut that and to say that you can't see something as a karmic punishment just because it so happens that you feel their body is a punishment because it's not as able as yours. Then you're putting yourself in such a high state of being as if you're perfect, when it's not how it works. And as I said in that video, you've all seen it, that light can access us in different ways when the carnal mind is not as present as it would be. If a child is disabled and they are not out in the world being stimulated by the world as it does to us able-bodied persons, especially here where disabled children don't get an opportunity because there's just no transport access, etc., then of course they have less chatter, and light comes through them in a much more profound way, a much more pure way. But while I'm talking about that, a lot of people also asked me why it is that I would address a topic when I speak so heavily about the Christian faith. And I've covered this before in another video, but from all I've seen within the Bible and the books excluded from the Bible, which is the only way we can look upon the religious and spiritual and mystical texts which make up the Christian faith and the stories contained within them, is that Jesus himself was not averted to the idea, or his disciples, of reincarnation. Now, I don't think every single person is reincarnated every time. I don't claim to know the answers. I do have enough common sense, and I'm a learned enough man to have read enough and to do logical case studies based upon the evidence presented to say that reincarnation is something that goes on. One of the greatest things, points of evidence for me, was the Barra boy, which is a boy in Scotland. You can watch it, there's documentaries and a book about it as well. And it was very clear, this child had a memory of falling into the body that he's in now, and the memory of his past life, and he had no business at the age of 4 or whatever knowing all about this island of Barra and his family that had died. So I do myself believe in reincarnation, but I also believe in a different type of life after death because I've had communications from the other side. But when all is said and done for myself, my business is here and now. And in the here and now is where I speak to my God, and my God is the God of the living. So I don't have as much concern as many people have for some reason, and I don't know why I'm that way. Maybe God made me that way. Most Christians believe that their rewards come by being able to enter heaven by proclaiming Jesus as the Son of God. I say that I don't care, because the Bible tells me that God is the God of the living and not the God of the dead. So I don't have too much concern about what happens to me when I die, because it's just a waste of energy that I can put into this present moment and making life better for myself and the children around me whilst I'm here. Now at the same time, I don't want to live my life to be good in the hope that I come back as something better, as many Buddhists fall into the trap of. I also don't want to live my life as good just because I'm scared that something bad will happen to me when I die. I just want to be good because it's the right thing to do. My heart tells me so. My heart sings a song which tells me this is the right thing to do. Be good to others because it feels nice when they are good to you. So I'm not so concerned with the topic, and thus I haven't been so concerned with speaking about it in my spiritual practice. But I will say that within the Bible, there's a story of a blind man that Jesus gives sight to. And the disciples clearly say, first of all, the story clearly states there was a man who was blind from birth. And then the disciples clearly say, Master, who sinned? Was it this man, or was it his parents to make him be this way? Now, the parents, you could argue that maybe they did something bad while he was in the womb, and that might be why they would say it. But how can he have done something bad when he was blind from birth? How can he have this strange karmic debt that he has, if you took label it a karmic debt, from birth, if he has not lived before? If he has not had an opportunity to sin before? And Jesus does not reply and say, don't be silly. We know there's no reincarnation. You only live the one time. He actually says, oh, this is not an affirmative of that kind. And then he goes on to explain what exactly is going on and to give the blind man sight. Now, on the level of esoterics, the story is the same story as ever. That you must blot out your carnal mind. You must sever your thinking mind. You must take no thought for your life if you are to ever embrace the mind of Christ and to see God. And to see God face to face in the place they call Peniel. Jesus takes the blind man, and first of all, Jesus needs to create some clay. The story goes that he rubs clay on his eyes and then he washes it off and the man can see. What actually happens is he goes to the dirt. Now the dirt is the earth. Just the same as when you see foot washing inside the Bible, it's a representation of washing away the lowest aspect of human consciousness. I've said this before, that the Pope can go out and wash all of the feet of all of the drug addicts in the world, but tomorrow they will have clean feet and still be filthy inside with their addictions. And the Pope did a very wonderful thing. It's very kind of him to wash someone's feet. For all millions of people all over the world wash each other's feet every day because they're caring for the sick or whatever. Nurses, doctors, care workers, whatever. Parents. It's not a big deal. And it's a very strange show to put on to go out and wash people's feet. It's a very humbling thing. And it's a very beautiful thing, don't get me wrong. And I admire someone who's willing to humble themselves and do the everyday tasks that humans have to do when they are supposed to be in a position that's beyond the everyday human. For all I feel, truly the best way to find God is to ensure that we realise everybody is an everyday human, be you with a label of Pope or not. But when you wash somebody's feet, you wash away the dirt, and the dirt is the lowest part. First of all, the foot is the lowest part of the human body, and it connects to what? The earth. And because it connects to the earth, you can see that the foot represents the lowest level of human consciousness, the earth level of consciousness. And when you wash that foot, you raise it up from beta to alpha, you raise it from earth, the lowest level of consciousness, to water, the next stage of consciousness in Greek mysticism, which is how that was written in the Bible. When you look at the story of the blind man, Jesus spits at the dirt on the earth. He spits at the dirt on the ground. Now, spitting is a sign of contempt. Universally, we still know it's a sign of contempt. We found a snake in the children's bedroom the other day. And here, culturally, the Maasai see the snake as the devil. And one Maasai warrior who was with me spat at the snake immediately as a sign of contempt. It's a universal sign of contempt. To spit at the earth and to create that clay is to spit and to show contempt, is what it is, to show contempt to the lowest level of human consciousness, which is the carnal mind, which, as the Apostle Paul said, the carnal mind is not subject to the laws of God. If you don't have a way to get out of that carnal mind, you are disobeying the teachings of Jesus Christ. You have to find a system, you have to find a means to get out of your carnal mind, because God can't talk to you in there, and the Bible tells you so. This is why there's this contempt from the Prince of Peace towards the dirt. As he spits into the dirt, he creates clay, and he rubs the clay on the eyes of the blind man. The man is blind because the lowest level of consciousness, the earth level, blinds him. His carnal mind blinds him from the life that he deserves to have with God. This is why the clay must go on. The man then goes to the water, and when he washes away the clay using the water, he can see. Because when he washes away the carnal mind, the earth level of consciousness from his sight, he is left with the next level of consciousness, the level of consciousness that we call water. Or you go from beta to alpha. You could say he is baptized, as it is also written inside the Bible. Baptism, a very important thing for all humans to go through. But I know pastors who baptize hundreds, thousands of people in their lives, and they are still rotten to their core. Some of them are good men, but they just fall. We have pastors and preachers in America who are baptizing people by the thousands, but they do nothing to help humanity. Multi-millionaire pastors who closed the doors to their church during the recent natural disasters and hurricanes in America, shutting off from the needy so as to keep his church clean and free from those people who were needing God in that time. They baptize many, and they are filthy inside because they are not baptized themselves. For they preach from the carnal mind, and they seek God from the carnal mind, and thus they are always at the earth level of consciousness. If they were to baptize internally and raise from beta to alpha, in the silence of their mind, take no thought for their life, they would embrace the Christ within them, and they would have the love that they need to call themselves a truly baptized Christian. Now, you don't need to know that. Right on cue. Doesn't matter what time of day I do a video, he starts his generator. You don't need to know that to be a good person, a good Christian. You don't need to know that working, because many people manage it anyway. But if you're struggling and someone wets your head, it doesn't help. Likewise, if you're struggling and someone washes your feet, it doesn't help. But if someone raises your consciousness to the next level, you get the power, because you start to see the Christ. You start to find space inside yourself for the Christ. But you don't if you don't shut off that carnal mind. You don't if you don't wash away the clay, the earth level, the carnal mind from your eyes using the waters of the next level of consciousness. Just as Jesus did to make the blind man see. So that's what the story is about, and as always, it's the important story that all of us must go through to release the carnal mind and the weak aspects of ourselves, to find the silence that allows us to nurture, grow, and envelop the Christ within ourselves, and to raise our sacred secretion, as we call it, and to realign our bodies so as we can speak with God and sit at the right hand of God by having our energies come from the right hemisphere, the more creative, spiritual, loving, nurturing side of ourselves, instead of the warmongering left hemisphere, which is what goes on the planet today. It's not that you should hate one and love the other, it's that you find equilibrium, but most persons are walking, unfortunately, in the West Hand path. And this is why we have war dominating the planet. There's not enough of the promised land coming from the east to help us. So the whole story from there, away from the reincarnation, is the same story I always speak of, that you must find a way to shut off your carnal mind. It's a necessity. If you're going to obey Jesus, you have to do that. But the other side of the story that I want to point out is that the disciples themselves asked if that man had sinned. And he was blind from birth, which means he must have had an opportunity to live before birth to have committed that sin in the eyes of the disciples. And as we are limited to the amount of information in the book, Jesus did not rebut them and say that's ridiculous. He moved on to tell the story, or the parable, or the dark saying, or the allegory of the truth that was sitting before them. So, can Christians believe in reincarnation? Well, the disciples did, as far as I can see. And as Jesus did not rebut them, I presume he did as well. There's nothing wrong with that concept. The man Jesus disappeared for many years. Where did he hide for those years? He had to hide. But where would he have hidden? And I say he'd have hidden in Alexandria. And in Alexandria we had Buddhists and Eastern philosophies, and a man of God would surely go to learn more than the law of Moses, if he had an opportunity to. And thus, if you read such books as Jesus, Lao Tzu, Krishna, Buddha, the parallel sayings, you'll see it. You can't deny that Jesus was using terms that those Eastern philosophies were using thousands of years before he spoke them. So we can either presume that they both accessed the same state of consciousness inside themselves, the same union with God to speak of such matters, or they indeed had all shared a common study or scripture or some description, texts, scriptures, dharmas, whatever. They were either plugged into the same place because they were saying the same things, or they had read the same things. And I think there's nothing wrong with expanding your view on Christianity in that way. I think there's nothing wrong with understanding and reading between the lines of the book as it is designed to do. I know that for a fact because it tells you must know the parables and the dark sayings. And if you don't know a dark saying, then you're in a lot of trouble. I tell you, in England, I'm going to let the cat out the bag. It means I'm going to share a secret. If someone rewrites that and tells you that they took a cat and lifted him from a sack and placed him on the floor and he ran away, you just changed it from meaning I'm going to divulge a secret to a literal story of someone lifting an animal out of a bag and putting it on the floor. And it's lost. That's a dark saying. Anyway, yes, I believe reincarnation was a very strong belief of at least the disciples, and as Jesus did not rebut them, I would say in some which way, shape or form, you could argue that indeed he had a belief that resided within there. So. Okay, God bless, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.